Hey there, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Ryan Schul. Welcome back if you've been here before. And if this is your first time coming here, then welcome for the first time. So in the project I'm going to look at today, I want to show you how to build an autonomous AI agent for the purpose of managing your projects. Okay. And we're going to do this very dynamically. You're going to see how interactive it is. So if you're in the project management business, or if you, as a actual professional, if that's your title, congratulations, that's great. If you just happen to manage some small projects, from time to time, this and that and whatever, I think pretty much almost everybody falls into that bucket, even if you're a lawyer, doctor, or who knows what, construction worker. We actually have to manage our time at the very minimal, right? And we have to probably manage some small projects, even if that is not our title in the office, right? So I think this can help a bunch of people. Basically, we want to look at inputs and plan generations, understand overall goals, take a look at some tools that can help us to understand how these projects are running right now, if there are any dependencies, what those dependencies are different dates for deliverables and things like this, right? We're going to look at dynamic resource allocation. If delays are overutilized or detected somehow, how do we manage that? How do we reallocate resources or delegate work better in whatever respect, right? We're going to look at some different tools to help us in these areas. We're going to look at autonomous decision engines, or AI agents. They're called AI agents. I have a bunch of videos on my channel now about AI agents and how those things work, so feel free to check it out if you're interested in those types of things. And overall capabilities for the PM, this is the project manager, or yourself or myself, right? If we're managing smaller projects, or if you're managing big projects too, right? Like, I think this kind of all goes underneath the same umbrella, more or less. So I have here a list of dictionaries. If I scroll down here a little bit, you can see this is called tasks. This is a list right here indicated by the square brackets. We have the key and the value pairs. Here's the key, anything to the left of the colon, and the value would be over here. So there's the first, there's the second, start date, required duration is the key, and the value is over here. So I'm just putting together this data, somewhat arbitrary, a little bit random, but I think it illustrates the point pretty nicely. And your data would be fed into this input right here, right? This input variable right here. So just simple, just take a look at it and imagine your own project, right? Like, you're not going to have my data. I don't have your data. I'm just showing you generally how this works. So we'd have some kind of task or some kind of identifier over here, start date, duration in terms of days, weeks, maybe months if this is a long-running project, any kind of dependencies that we need for this task right here. So if we have to define requirements, if that's the first step, we do this as step number 1. Design UI is step number 2. Define requirements is a prerequisite for this right here. And then design UI and development backend are dependencies or prerequisites for this step right here. Okay, so you can see all the dates. So hopefully that's pretty intuitive there. I'm going to go ahead and run this just so you can see in real time how this works. I can't run the last step, okay, because I need my chat GPT API key, and I can't expose that here, right? During the demo when I'm creating this narrative, I call these things the narrative. I can't just show you that because that's personal and confidential, right? We can easily go ahead and get your own key. I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. This would be the path over here. You can see I have a couple keys. I always start with the letters SK, and it's a whole bunch of variables there, probably 80 or 90. So it's a pretty massive key. Okay, so you can see here, this is an illustration of the all the tasks that need to be completed, and then any kind of dependencies, right? So if we are dependent on what's this called? Define requirements for step 2, design UI and develop backend. If the define requirements has to be done, then these two parts of the project can't start until this is totally done, right? So there's some dependencies or some prerequisites. So visually, you can see there's a little bit of overlap here. We can start integrate systems as development backend is finishing up, but we can't start testing until integrate systems is complete. So hopefully that makes sense. You can't test it if it's not done, right? There's nothing to test. Once it's done, you can do the testing, and after the testing ends, then you do the launch. So pretty intuitive. So that's just a linear representation of all the projects that are ongoing, or the different parts of the project rather, right? The integral parts of the project, and then the start and end dates, and of course the dependencies. So here I use the graph network graph to go ahead and illustrate visually what this looks like in the form of a graph. If you like these graph models, I've got a few topics on my channel that speak specifically to the graph analytics, right? So you define requirements. You can start to define or design the UI. This is the user interface, and then develop the backend. As that is finishing off, you integrate system, then go to testing, and then go to launch. And I pimped this out just a bit to get some more details in there. And here we can see the actual dates and then the number of days to completion. So defined requirements goes from July 10 to July 15. That's 5 days. If we go up here, we'll see the same thing, July 10 to July 15. And again, that's 5 days. We did the math there. And this design UI goes from the 15th to 22nd, and this one goes 15 to 25th. And if we see down here, 15 to 22nd, that's 7 days, and July 15th to July 25th, so 10 days. So again, just another way to represent using graph analysis how this visual might look. Now, typically you see these Gantt charts, pretty common. This is the common way to look at it over here, this view. But again, if you wanted something just a little bit different or something a little bit more maybe data sciencey, the graph network option is a pretty good option for you. I like to make all these graphs like a certain size so they kind of pop off the screen, right? I like it to be pretty big and bold. Okay, so I think we're about more than halfway done with this, so making good progress here. Let me save this and refresh this thing. Sometimes these views just totally disappear and the screen turns completely white, like it's some kind of snowstorm or whiteout or something. I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, so we have the graph network done. Now we can go ahead and see who all these tasks are assigned to, right? We're starting to delegate all of our tasks here. You can say define requirements goes to Alice, UI to Bob, backend to dev1, dev2 takes integrated system, QA1 is testing, and then launch is the project manager, right? And then you have all of the progress or remaining progress. I think this is remaining progress here, and then all the finish dates. Okay, so that looks pretty decent. Let us go ahead and display the project plan. Okay, so this is the overall big picture over here. Are there any delays? Okay, so any kind of delay is going to slow us down and prevent other people from doing their work, especially if there's dependencies in terms or prerequisites in terms of, like you saw before, if one part of the project has to be totally done before part 2 or part 3 or 4, whatever, can be started, then any kind of delay is really going to cause problems downstream for this whole process, right? So these two, and red and green, can't start until blue finishes off. Purple can start a little bit overlapped with green. Red is presumably done at this point. Orange can't start until purple's done, and blue can't start until orange is done, right? So we do have some pretty tight deadlines. There's quite a few dependencies, and any kind of delay is really going to cause an issue, right? If one thing gets delayed for one day, it's probably going to compound, and these problems are going to, have, again, downstream repercussions, and things can get really messy with these delays really quick. I've seen this happen. Okay, so we want to try to avoid that. So at this point, like, this project isn't too complicated. There's like 6 parts here. Okay, we start with 0. Python is always 0 based, go up to 5. That's really 6. So there's 6 different parts of this project. So not too complicated, right? But even with 6, we already have a few delays. So this is delayed, this is delayed, true and true. These are false. This is happening at the end. So even at the beginning of the project, things are going sideways here and it's getting off track, and we could potentially be driven into a ditch. We want to try to prevent that from happening, okay? You don't want to end up in a ditch. You want to have a conversation with an autonomous AI agent, okay? That's what this project is about right here. I mean, you can use your own judgment if you actually have to use that kind of resource, but that's what I'm focusing on in this topic here. So I want to go ahead and create an AI agent and be able to say, okay, who is this assigned to? What's the current plan? Is there a delay? Yes or no, true or false, right? And do we have to reallocate or reassign, or do we have to get more staffing or more human resources, or maybe more funding and maybe more monetary resources? There's a few reasons why projects can get off track and get behind or be delayed for a variety of reasons. I did a small project on this late last week. I have the video on my site. You can see a whole bunch of reasons why projects could be delayed. There's a causal analysis I did for that, right? To see if there is an occurrence of some event, what is the effect? There could be a cause and effect that could delay your project, right? So this is a pretty simple way to do the analysis. Name generate report is not defined. Did I miss a step over here? I think I did this one. Okay, and saying generate report. I might have missed something. This happens a lot, actually. Not sure why, because it works fine. Then take a couple days off, and then doesn't work. So I don't know if something gets lost in the memory or what, but sometimes these things mysteriously disappear. Let me get my water real quick and see what's going on here. I guess I'm missing this variable right here, or this object. So let me figure out what happened to that. Oh yeah, I think there was just a couple lines of code. I was probably playing around with this at some point and deleted something that shouldn't have deleted. And that's okay. Okay, let me just look for that and try to rebuild that thing. Okay, so yep, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, yes, so total task 6, that's what we just said. Delayed task 4, reassigned 4, and total tasks without backup is 2. So we just get a quick quantifiable view of what the current state of this overall project plan is in, right? So we have 4 in delay right now, 2 not started. These 4 people are responsible for each of these pieces, Alice, Bob, Dev 1, Dev 2. So we'd have to get them into a room or at least set aside time for a meeting and figure out what's going on and just get this thing back on track and get this up to speed with where it needs to be. And again, if it's a staffing issue, you know, reallocate or just staff up temporarily for several days or for a couple of weeks, get the resources that you need, right? And then you can have them roll off as their parts are finishing up. Or if you need more funding and you just don't have enough funding for the staff, then you have to take care of that too, right? There's a few things that could take these things off track, right? So we just have to understand progress, stay on top of that, detect delays, reassign based on availability, and again, people's bandwidth. If you have bandwidth and you can take on more, that's great. You can help out. And if you just can't, then you can't. I worked in the uh, project, not project management. What's it called? Sorry. Consulting. Oh, management consulting. Oh my God, it's a long time ago. I'm forgetting already. Worked in the management consulting business for a while, and you're always staffing up projects, staffing them down, reallocating resources, and getting more budgets approved if that's what you need to do, right? But you have to stay on top of these things and totally understand what's going on with the engagement, right? So you don't get behind, or if you start to get behind, you diagnose that and you resolve it pretty quickly. Okay, so we can do the diagnosis, suggest intelligent reallocation strategies. Yep, we can do that. Offer prevention, preventative maintenance or preventative tips or migration plans, and produce professional PM style reasoning report. Okay, so now this is the point where I said you need your API key. If you go to Chat GPT API, you can get a free API key. I think this one has a small cost associated with it. Every time you hit the API, you use bits. I forgot how much this costs here. Let me see. Uh, Give me a minute. So they do the pricing like on bits that you send them or tokens, right? I think a bit is converted to a token, and I'm seeing here 1,000 token query produces 500 token responses, cost about 0.0015 cents, so 1/15 of 1%. So pretty cheap actually. Like there is a small cost, it's not free, but it is pretty cheap for this stuff. Let's see, did I actually have? I didn't. So let me put this down here. Let me put the pricing chart down here. So I think that's fine. I just want to make it like pretty easy to read so it's legible. So basically, ChatGPT 4 is kind of like a middle of the road sort of um, service or technology, whatever you want to call it. Not quite as mature. I mean, it's a little bit more mature than 3.5. Like the numbering system is pretty intuitive. 3.5 came first, and 4 legacy, then 4 turbo. And I've found that the performance is quite a bit better for these guys over here versus this. This is just an older technology, older model. Doesn't really produce as robust responses as the newer GPT 4. And I guess now they have a different multimodal GPT 4.0 multimodal. I think that one's pretty new. These things are changing constantly, so it's hard to keep up with this stuff. Um, but overall, like these things are pretty cheap, guys. If you want to create a real AI tool and you don't mind spending just a little bit of money, and I'm talking about pennies here, guys. This is pretty affordable. I would highly recommend any of these. 3.5 again, it's a little bit older, not quite as robust or as refined as the 4.0 cousins, but it still does a decent job. I found like if you spend a little bit more money for the 4.0 stuff, you actually get a lot more horsepower. So I think it's really worth the extra cost here. Trying to line this up just so it's visually appealing. That's all this is. Otherwise, just wasting time here. Okay, and this always happens. I'm not sure why that kind of always needs to be rectified. Okay, so there's a price, and you can take a look at your leisure. You can Google it. You can ask ChatGPT. So again, I can't put in my key, but you create your own key. Very cheap. It costs pennies to do this, and you can go ahead and run this. Everything is going to run exactly like I have it set up here. You don't have to do anything. All you'd have to do is put in your own API key. So I'm using ChatGPT 4, right? This is one of the models down here. This is producing satisfactory results for me. Again, this is a little bit older. The results are a little bit rough, kind of just a little bit primitive compared to the newer systems. 4.0 turbo and 4.0 multimodal is really like next level stuff. It's really pretty amazing what you can do. So again, get your own API key, plug it in here. You will generate just a small like initial questionnaire or prompt to the chat tool, right? And based on this prompt, it goes out to ChatGPT and says, this is the project plan right here. Can you help me manage my own project plan? I don't want to get behind. I want to stay on top of this stuff. Right here, we have a very, very basic project summary. Because that's really helping us stay on track with where we need to be. Not really. We know that we have 6 tasks, 4 delayed, 4 are going to be reassigned, right? Because it's just not getting done. You can see that from over here. But does this tell you how do you how do you really manage this project better? How do you stay on top of this? What needs to be done? Who are the key players? How do you reallocate tasks? How do you reassign responsibilities? It's not telling you anything, right? It's giving you a very basic summary based on some business logic that I created over here, right? I basically created a sort of like, what would I call it? Specific instructions about what I wanted this business logic to do, right? I don't want to give it explicit instructions. I want to be very, very general and just say, I'm the project manager. Which tasks are delayed and why? Whether resource allocation is appropriate as it is right now. Is it appropriate or do we have to change some things? And can you recommend mitigation strategies? Okay. So just by asking a couple basic English, like English general, English like questions, English based questions. I'm just stimulating ChatGPT with these words, right? Just English words as I would talk to a SME or like a subject matter expert. what's going on with the project, and it responds down here. The project has 4 tasks that are currently delayed. Define requirements. This task is assigned to Alice and is complete. Design UI. This task was assigned Bob and 60% complete. It's delayed and has no not been reassigned to QA1. So this is quality assurance person 1. Again, the table does not provide specific reasons for this delay, right? So a little more information would be better for the AI tool, right, to make better decisions. But it's okay. It's still delivering some pretty impressive stuff here. Develop the backend. This task was assigned to Dev 1 as 40% complete. It's delayed, and there's no backup resources to which it can be reassigned. So that is a potential problem there, right? Integrate systems. This task was assigned to Dev 2 and is not started. It is delayed, and there's no obvious backup resource to which it can be reassigned. Again, this could be a potential pitfall. This is something we have to be aware of. So in terms of resource allocation, might be appropriate for the design UI and develop backend. These are behind, we know that. Develop backend is delayed and has no backup, so it could be beneficial to reassign this task to another developer if possible, right? So giving us a lot of insight just based on some very basic prompts over here. You're the project manager, blah, blah, blah. Which tasks are assigned or are delayed and why, and which resource allocation is appropriate, recommend mitigation strategies, right? So it's doing some pretty incredible stuff over here. Analyze the reasons for the delay. Yes, I would say take a timeout for half a day, 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever you need. Understand why are things being delayed, right? And how do you fix that? So it's not just random things. If you're not assigning the tasks to the right people, you could have delays. If the person just doesn't have the bandwidth to take this on, even though they said that they would, but now they're not doing it, then that's going to cause a delay. You have to figure out why, like what's causing this, right? I did that causal inference, causal analysis, and posted that on my channel recently. Like if one thing happens and there's an effect, what was the cause of the effect? There's always a cause and there's always an effect for it, right? With causal inference. So if there is a cause, if X happens and then the outcome is Y, let's figure out what's going on here, right? That's the cause and effect. So analyze the reasons for the delays, monitor progress closely, improve communication. I've seen in the past, been on Wall Street 20 years, guys, not doing a whole lot of project management, more asset management, investment management, things like this. But I've been involved in a lot of projects. Communication is key. You see it breaking down all the time. People just can't talk to each other. I'm not sure why, but you have to ensure that team members are aware of their responsibilities and deadlines. Sometimes people don't even know. Like, it's kind of crazy, but that happens, right? Consider additional resources. If the current team does not have the capacity to compete task at a time, it might be necessary to bring in additional resources, right? That's what I said before. Staffing, prioritize tasks. If resources limited, focus on the most critical tasks first. Others might be able to be delayed if necessary. Finally, implement risk management, identify potential risks, and develop plans to manage them. This can help prevent unexpected delays. So what does ChatGPT add to this whole analysis? Natural language reasoning, professional tone, I guess, context-aware logic, and recommendations based on actual data. So again, all you need is your own ChatGPT API key. You put in your credit card. I've made a bunch of requests to ChatGPT in the past, I don't know, a couple of weeks when I was putting this together and a couple of other AI projects that I was working on. I think based on all the API requests, which I had, which was a lot, I don't even think I paid $2 on the credit card so far. So it's not going to drain you. It's not going to, dent your bank account or anything. I think for what you pay here, the payoff is huge. I think you get a big bang for the buck here. Definitely worth it. Put in your own API key. Everything will work as is. And again, you would ideally want to do this on your own data right here. This is the project data that I came up with. Obviously, yours is going to be completely different, right? It's relevant to whatever you're working on. Put in your data, right? See which tasks are ahead, which are coming behind, and then go ahead and create your ChatGPT account, right? And then ask it some natural language questions over here, right? This is all called natural language reasoning, where you interact with the AI tool and it gives you feedback, just like a professional SME, subject matter expert. Okay, so again, here's the costs for the different data plans or the different technology services. I don't know what these are called. Models. So yeah, so they are AI models or Chat GPT models. You pay different rates based on the model, and you can get your key here. So that's it, guys. I'm wrapping up right here. I don't know how long into the video this one went. Let me see. Was this like 15, 20 minutes? Can't go over 20, I think. It felt pretty short. Oh, 24, 24, almost 25. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for your time today, guys. I will post all this code and I'll post a video later today. You'll have whatever you need. Download the Jupyter Notebook as an HTML file, and you can either convert that to Jupyter Notebook or copy and paste into a Jupyter Notebook, run all the code, and you're going to have everything you need. Okay, thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon when I post the next video. Bye for now.